And now the WB logo is pretty much just a tombstone for part 2. At least that's how I take it. Well, if that's not the face of a man regretting every single one of his life decisions. And I love that the film opens with him since he's, spoilers, he's the hero of this story in my book.
How are you?
Alive.
Optimism. And a little continuity with Griphook still having that laceration on his face from Bellatrix.
There are more than a few curious things in the vaults at Gringotts.
I've got to give some props to Warwick Davis. Not only has he nailed multiple versions of Flitwick, but now he's created another compelling character with Griphook. He just exudes age and wisdom and just a hint of treachery.
Unyielding.
John Hurt, as little as he's in this film, even just to talk crap about wands is always a win.
Is he not still?
Well, perhaps not. If you won it from him, I sense his allegiance has changed.
I'd just like to point out that Harry literally disarmed Draco in Malfoy Manor. Like he just ripped his wand from his hands. Who knew it was that easy?
You sure that's hers?
Positive.
Yeah, no way it could be cat hair. But in all seriousness, they did make a point of showing it in the last film.
How do I look?
So, Helena Bonham Carter is pretty to begin with, but Bellatrix is pretty nasty and doesn't make herself attractive at all. But Helena pretending to be Emma pretending to be Bellatrix ends up making her pretty again. Point is, Helena Bonham Carter is always a win. Another one of those simple, no need to make it flashy or unique type scenes, and they still choose to do something cool and distinct by having the wheels spin freely around the cart like a gyroscope. Hey, it's the Pan theory of gravity at work. Another amazing CGI creation with insane attention to detail from the Harry Potter universe. The chafing marks from the chains and the very bleached out skin and glossy eyes of the dragon from being trapped in a cave all its life.
Been trained to expect pain when it hears the noise.
And leave it to Harry Potter to give us Pavlov's dragon. But a smart way to make us feel sympathy for a dangerous beast by equating it to a dog.
Accio Horcrux.
Occam's razor? I don't know, crushed, suffocated by pretty gold things sounds like an alright way to go out.
I said I'd get you in. I didn't say anything about getting you out.
And Willow evils it up better than I'd have expected. I mean, brutal.
That's unfortunate.
Also, yep. Really, one of the best CGI dragons. Very present. Love how he takes a breath as if it's the first non-cave, damp, musty air he's ever breathed. And more realism. Well, as realistic as a giant dragon taking flight can be, with how hard it is for a dragon to take off. Since number 1, he probably hasn't flown in a long time, if ever, and number 2, he's a heavy dude who has to push a lot of air around. He needs a running start. What a beautifully shot scene with the camera frantically spinning around them as they emerge from the water. Little touches like this that you know took an astounding amount of rigging to work are what make these films so impressive. Daniel Radcliffe's workout routine. Sorry, Ron. Maybe you'll figure it out by your 30s. Oh, how poetic. You had that coming. Ha! The caterwauling charm sounds like a cat, because witches. Ha! Sort of just charging ahead to the finale here, I like that even though Ron and Hermione are willing to take a little break, Harry is solely focused on the endgame. The original cut of this scene was slower and longer, but it really works at this brisk pace.
What makes you think you can believe anything my brother told you? In all the time you knew him, did he ever mention my name? Did he ever mention hers?
I know, the truth about Dumbledore and Snape is about to come out, but I enjoy that they're doubling down on making us doubt everything we knew about Dumbledore.
I trusted the man I knew.
But Harry's nothing if not loyal. Definitely done a great job of illustrating how Hogwarts has changed, just from the lack of lighting and the military marching. Dagmar, Cleftjaw's one of the Torture Twins? Ugh, this movie gets so much more tragic once you know the truth. That hesitation. He knows he can't hurt McGonagall. Also, he purposely knocks the Carrows down with one of the deflections so they couldn't fight back. And then, as Voldy starts talking to Harry, the camera tilts a little Dutch, and at first just for Harry until the rest of them start to hear it.
Students in the corridor!
They are supposed to be out of bed, you blithering idiot.
Oh. Sorry, Mom.
Apology win.
Exactly where is it I'll be leading them to, Mom?
The dungeons would do.
Alright guys, I know, I get a comment a day about how mean I am to Slytherins.
What are you waiting
But, I mean, she just put them in the dungeons, where they belong. McGonagall has always been one of Harry's greatest advocates, so seeing her really stand up for him now, not as a teacher, but as an equal, feels fantastic.
Potter. It's good to see you.
To blow it up! Boom! Boom!
How can the Dowager yelling boom not be a win? It can't not be, therefore it is. One of my favorite pieces of music in this film. Such cautious anticipation, yet hope for what's to come. I know they don't end up doing a whole lot, but man are they cool looking.
I've always wanted to use that spell.
Silver linings? Also, there's something so fulfilling about seeing these adults who have always been the superiors to the kids stand side by side with them and prepare to fight. So last week we had the crazy owner of Ireland, and this week we get Renton's underage girlfriend, But fun fact, I just took the little Pottermore quiz and found out I'm a Ravenclaw. Do with that what you will. I don't know what Bella's doing, but she's having a grand old time. Magical carpet bombing.
It's the quality of one's convictions that determines success, not the number of followers.
Who said that?
Me.
Eloquence? Not the Quidditch pitch. Well, at least there won't be any other huge losses. Derezzed. All right. Love. Well, that plays right into what Harry was saying earlier about Voldy being more dangerous after a piece of his soul dies.
If anything, he feels more dangerous.
That went well.
Situational awareness. Wait, are those Quidditch hoops? I guess that excuses destroying the field. Alright, maybe I was a little too hard on the Terracotta Warriors. They take down a few ogre troll giants. This one shot of all practical explosions that makes the battle so real, following the camera inside the school through a Death Eater smoke trail to the battle inside. And I've always liked that people have their own style and spells. If Snape can invent Sectum Sempra, it's not like everything comes out of a book. Room of requirement if what you require is a hoarder's fantasy.
That's my girlfriend, you numpty! I'll set the bloody place on fire!
What's that, hon? I mean Ron? Okay, fire dragon, fire tiger, and fire snakes are pretty... Yep. Well, comeuppance. And then saving people who definitely don't deserve saving. Although, I'll admit I've come around to the plight of Draco.
My lord.
That's Evil Lord for, please, I'd prefer to not be bothered right now, I'm going through some stuff. Such an awesome way to show off the battle with the three amigos running through the fighting just to get from point A to point B. And they basically go through the first few years of school on the battlefield. Giant troll dude with a big weapon, spiders from the dark forest, werewolves like Lupin, and then Dementor. Aw, poor Ron's ex-girlfriend. Now that's a Patronus. Alan Rickman. Severus Snape. I love that he's one of the only wizards to be in Voldemort's presence and never show any real fear, even as his death approaches. The only fear or uneasiness we ever really see from him is when he's murdering Dumbledore and dueling Minerva. Alan Rickman is always a win. And throughout the series, there are hints here and there from Alan Rickman himself, since he was the only one on set to know Snape's true fate and backstory. Rest in peace, Snape. Rest in peace, Alan Rickman.
On this night, you have allowed your friends to die for you.
Talk about creepy. Like he's whispering right inside your ear. I don't recommend using headphones when watching this. Like ASMR gone way wrong. So this is just the worst. But fun fact, James Phelps was actually sleeping during this scene, just to lighten the mood. These two honestly sting the most for me. Bold move to orphan their child, but it wouldn't be as meaningful if no one lost their life because of Moldy Voldy.
The boy must die. And Voldemort himself must do it.
What a boatload of information, and all of it absolutely jaw-dropping. Dumbledore wasn't the protector we thought he was. While no one can fault him for seeing and planning for the greater picture, his willingness to sacrifice Harry leaves a pit in your stomach. And all the while, the man you've hated throughout the entire series, the man who killed our beloved Dumbledore, sacrificed his entire life, everything he was, all because of his love for Lily. Ron was right, none of it's really about Harry. And Daniel Radcliffe sells shocked and awed really well. His entire world was just turned upside down, so he's gonna take a seat. They had me going. Either way, some heartfelt, tearful goodbyes setting up the sacrifice. And the boys, they don't even need words.
You've been so brave, sweetheart.
What a great use of the Resurrection Stone to give Harry one final real interaction with his mother and some of the people who have sacrificed their lives for him. Part of me is sad we never got a final farewell with the real Snape, but he wasn't one for goodbyes. Or being nice. Or liking Harry at all, really.
Does it hurt? Dying.
Quicker than falling asleep.
Gary Oldman is always a win. Self-sacrifice. So one thing that's sort of interesting to think about, Harry currently owns the Invisibility Cloak, he's the true master of the Elder Wand, and he just learned Dumbledore gave him the Resurrection Stone. Does that make him the Master of Death? I know only the Horcrux part of him died, but if anyone was ever the Master of Death, Harry owns all three Deathly Hallows.
Professor, my mother's Patronus was a doe. That's the same as Professor Snape's. It's curious, don't you think?
Actually, if I think about it, it doesn't seem curious at all.
This was a little confusing at first. They're not trying to hint that Snape is Harry's father. I think it's more that Harry knows everything now, but doesn't know if Dumbledore knows that he knows. Dumbledore's
It doesn't seem curious at all.
is his way of saying, yes, Snape's memories were true. I know, you know?
Is this all real? Or is it just happening inside my head?
Of course it's happening inside your head, Harry. Why should that mean that it's not real?
Well, that's it. Confirmed. Harry's still under the stairs at Privet Drive.
Dead.
I know it sort of seems like a convenient loophole that Voldemort wouldn't check to see if Harry was dead, but it's kind of typical of him to make someone else do the work. Plus, he obviously had been hurt by one of the last Horcruxes being destroyed, and then obviously he's going to make Hagrid carry Harry back in shame. But also an immediate reward for saving Draco's life in the Room of Requirement.
Harry Potter is dead!
Have I mentioned Ralph Fiennes doesn't even care? Oh, he revels like no other. And as much as I've hated the Malfoys throughout, it's actually heartwarming to see Lucius and Narcissa beg for their son to join them. And the sight of them walking away from the fight, while maybe they're getting off a little easy, is really touching.
I'd like to say something.
Well, Neville, I'm sure we'd all be fascinated to hear what you have to say.
I love how angry he gets at such a simple request, but still grants it, because he's riding high right now. He killed his nemesis after 17 long years.
Harry's heart did beat for us. For all of us. It's not over.
Yeah, Neville. Love that he gets this moment to stand up to Voldy. Courage. Harry's alive. One final duel that proves Harry was special to a point. Even Dumbledore struggled in his duel against Voldemort. Granted, V-Boy is using less pageantry than in the Ministry fight, and the lack of score zeroes the tension in. Alright, so he's using some pageantry. Told you, she's just not a Stephenie Meyer fan.
Come on, Tom. Let's finish this the way we started.
Haha, I love that he calls him Tom. I bet Harry's the only non-Death Eater that can say he smoked around Death Eater style. And one last epic Priori Incantatum. Neville to the rescue! And what a moment for the shy, awkward kid who never felt like he belonged in Gryffindor. Dumbledore confirms that he
deserves.
Together with his speech, he shows some real conviction at the end. So, some decent comeuppance, as I'm assuming Avada Kedavra is rebounding on him. I can't say I'm not sad that Harry didn't double wand vaporize him, though. Headcanon, I guess. Yep. Oh, a caretaker's work is never done. That spot's looking good, though. I know the sun is out, so it's not as dreary as it's been, but now that Voldemort is gone, it's like the colors have been put back into their skin and hair. I guess that's the right thing to do. Giving up ultimate power is noble. Come on, Ron, you had 19 years to get in shape. I will say, after seeing what they looked like on the first run-through, I'm really glad they toned it down. I know I don't look like I did when I was 18, but goodness.
Slytherin House will have gained a wonderful young wizard.
And someday, you might get thrown in a dungeon just for being in that house. No biggie. A solid fade out of the three amigos with Harry center frame. Deathly Hallows Part 2, well, really both movies together are... They're just not my favorite. In general, you know I don't really like when things end. And while we got some satisfying battles and good triumphing over evil, I still felt like there was something missing. It's still a great conclusion, filled with epic cinematography, great performances, and plenty of meaningful moments. I talked about how Voldemort wasn't using the same pageantry against Harry that he did in his duel with Dumbledore, and there are myriad reasons why that could be. He thought he was far superior to Harry, so why bother? He was really angry, he had already killed him once after all, and also the destruction of his Horcruxes seems to make him unravel. I know Harry said he's more dangerous, but that could just mean more unstable or unpredictable. Anyway, all that said, I think Rowling missed a great opportunity to stop any of that nitpicking. What if Voldemort had used all his best spells, and just when you think Harry's losing, he just walks through the fire, or glass, or whatever because the Elder Wand answered to him and wouldn't harm him? Just a thought, would have been a fun twist to quickly flash back through why the wand answered to Harry and not Snape. Obviously all in slow-mo, real Phoenix Force style. Ha. Not Fox, more Jean Grey. Anyway, most of the meaningful moments had to do with sacrifice, which is really the main theme running through these last two films. And it extends beyond just Harry and Snape. Right from one of the first scenes of Part 1 with all the people willing to die so that Harry can live. Mad Eye actually dying. And then after the first battle, we pan over the others that gave their lives. Harry ultimately makes the choice to sacrifice his life so Voldemort will destroy one more piece of himself. But when talking about sacrifice, only one man takes the cake. Severus Snape. One of the most complex characters ever created. Good guy, bad guy, he's neither really. He fully committed to paradoxical things at the same time. Voldemort never doubted his allegiance, even in the end.
You've been a good and faithful servant, Severus.
He killed Dumbledore, gave up the day Harry was being moved the last time, and throughout Harry's time at Hogwarts unfairly projected his disdain for James Potter onto his son, bullied him even as some form of immature retribution. And then he was also fully committed to the Order of the Phoenix. So much so that he granted Dumbledore his request to be the one who kills him. He continued to love Lily so much that he switched allegiances and protected Harry at every turn. He loved Lily so much that even after all this time, his Patronus still reflected his love for her. A tortured man who never saw any respite. Even as he died, having to look into the last living reminder of Lily, her eyes and Harry, which would have been at best filled with confusion, at worst malice. A true picture of sacrifice in this story. You might not expect a Jesus metaphor in a book about witches and wizards, but Snape took on the sins or the evil of the magical man to give his life to save the world. Harry's the one that gets resurrected, and he also laid his life down, but Snape's sacrifice will always be the most powerful in these stories, to me at least.
He was the bravest man I've ever known.
And Daniel Radcliffe's final performance is one of his best for sure. The main three do an excellent job of carrying us through the final story. It was nice to get some time with Dumbledore one last time, as cryptic as he continued to insist on being. All the action was really well done. It was a smart move to let David Yates take the last few films. With the story building done, it was all about capitalizing on everything Rowling, he, and other directors had built over the last decade. And they did it well. I can't believe it's over. Some heavy losses and really sad moments, but overall a very satisfying ending to the series that wrapped most everything up nicely. Next week, something that loosely connects to a movie coming to theaters that you've been requesting pretty much since day one.